Do you use a Shure SM7B or even a Rode PodMic or any other kind of dynamic microphone for your YouTube videos or your podcasts, and your levels seem super low? You have to crank your gain to get the level that seems normal, and you can't really figure out why? You just spent $400 on a microphone and you can't hear yourself? Well, I have an answer for you. Let's get right into it. Hey guys, my name is Hunter. Welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time, welcome. I make content about content. Today we're going to be talking about microphones, specifically dynamic microphones, and why you might pick one up and without having the right knowledge, realize that it's super duper quiet, and then you're wondering why you spent all that money on a microphone you can barely hear. So there's a lot of different mixtures of microphones, audio interfaces, and editing styles that you might use or you might have learned from somebody, and all of them are going to render slightly different results. So this is going to be a little bit different for each person. However, the gist of what the issue is at hand and why your microphone is probably way lower than you were presuming it was going to be when you first plugged it into your audio interface is that condenser microphones like the Scarlett Studio microphone or the Blue Yeti, I believe, are condensers, and condensers use phantom power, which phantom power is basically your audio interface, or when it's a USB microphone, your computer are sending power to your microphone through either the USB or the XLR cable, and it's using that power to amplify your voice and send a louder signal to your recording software or stream or whatever you're using it for. Whereas microphones like this and the Shure SM7B have great use cases, and you definitely should have them in certain scenarios. You also have to keep in mind that they are going to be putting through much lower signal to your recording software or your stream or whatever you're using it for. And so you have to make up for that in gain. So there's a couple things that you can do. You can either get an audio interface that has enough clean gain to power your microphone. You can crank your gain on one that doesn't really have enough to comfortably use, and then you're going to have a lot of noise in the background. Or you can get a device like a mic activator or a signal booster is what they might actually be called. This right here, this little blue device on my desk, this is called the Cloud Lifter. So my microphone is running into the Cloud Lifter, and then the Cloud Lifter is running into my audio interface, which is the Scarlett Solo Gen 2, and that is the sound that you're hearing right now. If this doesn't make any sense at this point, I'm going to try to explain this and pop up some numbers on the screen. So what we're using right now is the PodMic. The sensitivity is negative 57 decibels. So this mic needs 57 decibels of gain to reach 0. Now you don't want your mic at 0. You want it to be somewhere between like negative 12 and negative 6. And you can run it a little lower than that if you want more headroom for editing and such. But basically this mic needs 57 decibels of gain to reach 0. If you're using a Shure SM7B and you've reached this video, that microphone requires 59 decibels of gain to get to that level of 0. Now we talk about audio interfaces. So a lot of audio interfaces, especially ones coming out nowadays, have enough clean gain inside of it to power a microphone like this. And what I mean by clean gain is actual physical gain actual gain and not. So audio interfaces nowadays, a lot of them are coming out with enough clean gain to power a microphone like this or the SM7B. And what I mean by clean gain is actual gain, whereas some have a gain level of 70, but then it's 50 of clean gain and then 20 of kind of an added in electrical gain. So basically just boosting that. So that's called dirty gain. That's what some people call it, but that's not going to be clean. That's going to be just like if you cranked the gain knob on your audio interface, it's not going to sound as good. And so you don't want that. So if you don't have an audio interface that has enough gain, 57, 59, 60, 70 decibels, so you're not hitting the max, you might want to get something like a Cloud Lifter, especially if you speak quiet. Now, if you're going to be singing into one of these or putting it up to an amplifier on a guitar, you don't need that. But if you have a soft spoken voice or, you just want to have a little bit more headroom, a Cloud Lifter or any other mic activator is the way to go. My audio interface, the Scarlett Solo Gen 2, only has 50 decibels of gain. So when I plug my pod mic directly into that audio interface, that means that, so if we need 57 to get up to a floor of 0, and I want it to be around -12, give or take, I'm just going to say we need to use about 40 decibels of gain to get near where we want to be. So that is going to almost max out the gain level on my audio interface. What that does is then brings the noise floor up, and then your audio signal sounds like crap. What the Cloudlifter does, since your dynamic microphone doesn't need phantom power, you would usually have phantom power turned off on your audio interface. Now, when you plug in a device like a Cloudlifter or a mic activator, you turn phantom power on, and then instead of it sending it to the microphone, it sends it to the mic activator, and it uses that phantom power to then convert it into clean gain. The Cloudlifter adds 25 decibels of clean gain. This is awesome because now, let's say we start out at a base of 25 decibels with this, and then I can turn up my gain knob on my audio interface a lot less because it is sending the signal into the interface already boosted 25 decibels without ruining the audio quality. Whereas my gain knob on this would normally be turned to about 4 o'clock, which is almost maxed out. Now it's at 12 o'clock. It's actually a little bit less than 12 o'clock, between 11 and 12 o'clock, which is less than half of the gain that the audio interface provides, which means that my signal is just as loud as if I were to crank it, but it sounds a lot nicer. So I'm gonna do a test for you guys here in a minute of the pod mic running through the Cloudlifter into my audio interface and then directly to the audio interface without the Cloudlifter so that you can see the difference. It'll be best to listen with headphones, but first I want to give you the few options of mic activators if you want to get one. So I'm going to tell you about 2. There are a ton more, but it would take a while for me to go through all of them, and I'm just going to give you kind of the 2 most popular options. So the Cloudlifter here gives you 25 decibels of gain. And one thing I like about the Cloudlifter is it is a individual separate device, so you can hide it. You can put it somewhere else. It's not attached to anything. This device here is $150, so it is one of the more expensive ones, whereas you can get them for less. The cool thing about the Cloudlifter is you can get this is the CL1, the original. You can get the CL2, which runs 2 mics into it and has 2 out. You can get a 4-input one, and I think you can get more than that, but don't quote me. Anyway, this is $150, so it's pretty expensive. But then there is another brand, and it is called the Fethead, the Triton Audio Fethead, I believe. So Fethead adds 27 decibels of gain, so a little bit more, and it's only about $90 depending on where you look. It looks like it's $90 on Sweetwater right now, $90 on B&H. So that seems to be about the normal price for it. And so you're thinking more decibels of gain, lower price, why? The downside to me, or for me, and this might not affect you, is the Fethead needs to be plugged into the back of your mic or into your audio interface, and then the cord goes into that. Now, I believe you can run a cord into it, I believe, maybe, but I always see it plugged into either the audio interface or into the back of the microphone. I believe that's how it works. I don't really want it sticking out of the back of here because the XLR goes into the back of the microphone. You'd be able to see it. It doesn't look good. And it'd be kind of annoying with the interface because it sits on my desk. Now, if you can put this in between 2 XLR cables, let me know in the comments because that'd be awesome. And then that's an awesome option. It still is an awesome option, especially if you use something like an SM7B because, and I'll pop a picture up on the screen, but it's not as obvious when it's plugged into the SM7B because of how they run their XLR cable. But on the pod mic, which is what I use, the XLR cable sticks out the back. So it's just, it would stick out to like here and then the cable would go, and I just think it looks kind of dumb. But that is another option. There are other ones. There's one called like the Dynamite. It looks like a little stick of dynamite. Same thing. It goes into your microphone or your audio interface. And if you run it that way, it's always best to put it in the microphone because the Cloudlifter or the Fethead are just boosting the signal coming from your microphone. So if you put it right near the microphone, it's boosting the microphone signal and then a tiny bit of noise because noise is just generated in cables. And so I have a shorter cable going to the Cloudlifter and then a longer one going to the interface usually. I learned this because right off the bat when I bought it, I had a super long XLR and then the Cloudlifter and then like a 2-footer into my audio interface. And I was still getting noise, and it's because it's not only boosting your microphone signal, it's also boosting all of the noise from your XLR run. And so it ups and downs, you kind of have to learn how to use it. However, I've been talking a lot, so let's just get into these tests really quickly and then go from there. So this is me talking directly into the Rode PodMic and then into the Cloudlifter and then ran into my audio interface. Gain is set at about 1130 on the audio interface. So not too bad on the gain. Sounds pretty nice. I like it. And now let's switch over to PodMic directly into the interface. You probably can't even hear me. You probably can't even hear me. Okay, so there we go. All right, so now I have the PodMic running directly into my audio interface. No Cloudlifter, no mic activator. But now I have my gain set at about 4 o'clock. And so this is, I'd say, about the exact same noise or even maybe a little bit less. So I could turn it all the way up and get like a good signal. That's a little bit too loud. But right here, if you have headphones on, you won't be able to notice that on speakers, but you can probably hear a noise floor. You can hear some hissing in the background. And so if I turn my gain knob back down to where it was with the Cloudlifter, let's see if you can hear me. So this is the PodMic ran directly into the audio interface at the about 11:30 to 12 o'clock position on gain. I'm not even really getting any signal, but I'm having to talk pretty loudly in hopes that it picks up any kind of signal. And then so I got to crank that pretty far for you to hear me, which raises the noise floor. And honestly, after compression and such, you might not be able to even notice in a normal YouTube setting or podcast setting, and you can probably take most of it out in EQ, but that's just adding more work, and I can notice it when I'm editing, and it's not good. So let's switch back over to the Cloudlifter because I hate this. All right, so we are back with the Cloudlifter plugged in. And so I just want to run a test. I've seen a few other people do this. I'm going to turn the gain up to where it was without the Cloudlifter, and we'll see how loud it gets. So I'm turning it up. We're hitting about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. This is too loud. I have to be back here. This is how loud it gets. So if I come up here, I have to whisper, and it's still very, very loud. If I were to talk normal, it would hurt your ears. Back down to 11:30. What I want you to get out of all of this is adding a mic activator or a Cloudlifter to your setup, while annoying and not entirely necessary, will definitely help your audio quality if you are running a dynamic mic like this or the Shure SM7B. Now I know that adds another cost, so if you are just for the first time ever starting out and buying all these things, you could buy a Shure SM7B or a PodMic and search the internet for audio interfaces that have the amount of gain you need. I know of a couple. I will put them down in the description if you are just now buying your setup and you want to just get an interface that has enough gain. I know the brand new Rodecaster Pro has enough clean gain to run these mics with no mic activator. So if you're looking to drop $700 on an interface, power to you. That's about it. That is why your dynamic microphone is quieter than you thought it would be when you bought it. So that's what I'm going to leave you with today. If you have any questions, comments, leave them down in the description below. Thank you for watching this long. If you have, congratulations, you made it. If you like videos like this, consider looking at some of my other videos and maybe leave a like down below. Helps me out a lot. And if you enjoy this content, consider subscribing or don't. It's okay. I understand. Anyway, that's where I'm going to leave it. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you have a wonderful day. I'll see you in the next one.